Joining me to discuss this important topic is Joachim Idada, a sport entrepreneur and administrator, and to let people know that you also own a TV house. Good morning to have you, Mr. Joachim.
It's nice, as usual, coming into your studio to talk sports.
Okay. Some weeks ago, we had Loco, that's the president of World Athletics, saying so much regards to ban on transgender. Obviously, the last time you came on the show, it was noted that these are large population that you cannot ignore because sport is business. With this recent ban, transgender for ban, quote and unquote, in relating to international events, what's your own expert opinion on this?
I don't think the appropriate word should be ban.
Okay.
If we are going to use the word ban, we should use the word temporary. We should note that it's temporary because Sebastian Coe did say that it will be reviewed. Whether we like it or not, the transgender in the gender equation, they are a growing population. And they are those who have changed their sex as a result of a birth. I don't want to use the word, there's no birth defect, but I will look at it as a challenge, a gender challenge after birth. It's not a defect. So some of them decided to choose the female sex than the male sex, especially for those who have those kind of challenges. Unfortunately, because they had both sexes at birth, whether you like it or not, they still had the hormones that are masculine. So for those group of persons, especially there are certain kind of sports that will be attractive to them, those feminine sports that we want to consider that are clearly feminine, are they really feminine in that or that category that we call the female sports? So if a person has chosen at birth because of that challenge to be female rather than male, and at the end of the day, the male hormones begin to develop because that is what the ban is all about. The ban says that at puberty, you understand, at puberty, that's a critical word that was used in the ban. Any female who was male at puberty. That if you were male at puberty, then there is a tendency that you have the male hormone. And you know there are certain sports that kind of gender category, it will be attractive to those kind of gender category, especially a sport like football, physical sports, boxing. Athletics is physical, but it's still individual. So in that category, when it's even though physical, but it is individual, yes, in the classical sense, you can say you want to differentiate between a female and a male-female. If you understand what I'm saying. A male-female is a male who chose to be female. I don't want to use the word at birth this time. I'm sure there are some people who voluntarily on their own went to choose, they had passed puberty and they decided of their own free will that they want to be female rather than male. They want to be female rather than male. For that category of athletes, it's questionable. So you see, that's why sometimes when I see some of the female, the way they tap football, you begin to wonder, this one again. Yes, there are some female footballers that they can effectively compete with male footballers even at the senior level. I'm not going to say that they were transgenders. I will not say that. But you know, in the classical terms, Sebastian Coe has said it. Sebastian Coe has said it that it will be reviewed. They are watching and it will be reviewed. The word is we are watching means what? They want to see what is the business side of this whole argument. Because athletics is just one sport. You have boxing, you have wrestling, you have a lot of other sports.
Why? Let me come in. Why is Sebastian Coe or World Athletic scared of saying a total ban?
They can't say a total ban because whether you like it or not, sports is business. Everything is tied to the wallet. Everything is tied to the money. So I would think at a later time they will change it to be the list that you go that they will create a special category for transgender. So you now have female, you have T-female, then you have male.
Okay.
Those will now become the gender class that we have. And for the T-females, they'll be able to compete within themselves.
Okay. Now, it's still an effort to protect the female events. Because what reports getting to us is the fact that the female events needs to be protected. Do you think this is enough? In as much as it's not a total ban, in as much as they're still going to have a working group researching on this, do you think it's enough to protect the female?
I won't say it's enough to protect the female. I won't say it's enough to protect the female. What is critical now is that World Athletics is trying to understand the situation. It's understanding that everything's all. What is the size? What is the size? What is the size of the population? Do we have 100 million? You have 200 million. Two, they want to look at the medical side of it. You understand? And how does the medical side affect the physiology? Some of all of this. I agree in classical terms. If a child that has chosen, a child that was born female and a child that has chosen to pick the female sex are two different things. Caster Semenya is a classical example. She chose to be female because she had both sexes. But unfortunately, whether she will like it or not, the hormones is it estrogen? For the male,
okay,
is high. So in a classical competition, she will perform far at a far higher rate than a child that is just that was born female.
Okay.
So we agree. So come in a scale of chance.
Okay.
In a scale of chance, I would sincerely say, yes, it will not be fair for the simple female to compete against this category of athletes. Okay. It will not be fair. But it is also not fair if you exclude them from competition.
Yeah, before we go to about what's fair and what is not fair, let's listen to Sebastian Coe on that day where he told the world about the ban on quotes of World Athletic ban on transgender women in international events starting from March 31st. That's Sebastian Coe, the president of World Athletics, and 12 months have been given to decide this inclusion. To know, and also he said that science is not enough. They still need to work on that. What do you think this should look like in the next 12 months?
This is research. They'll continue researching and researching. Okay, now there are certain critical words he used in his statement. One, he talked about puberty, male puberty, and he talked about testosterone suppression. That means currently, the transgender athletes are taking certain drugs to suppress their testosterone. And it is under that class that you now have them saying, okay, you can now compete amongst the women, provided your testosterone level falls within a particular level. At the end of the day, what I see, at the end of the day, we have only one choice. We have only one choice, is to recognize the transgender and to allow them compete in their own category.
Okay.
In their own category. So all of this is, there's a growing population. They want to interact with the transgender athletes. They want to also understand the marketing side. Yes, they want to understand the marketing side. Okay, let us look at this. In the Olympics, you have female and you have male. That is what the viewers watch. That is what is bringing them the money. You can imagine if you now have a third category, transgender. That means you are creating a new group of events. And when you create that group of events, you want to look at how many companies will be willing to invest
in such.
Based
on morals.
Yes, whether based on morals, we have all these people that do religious agitation. They talk about all sorts of, they raise all sorts of ethical issues.
Okay.
They raise all sorts of ethical issues. So and there are also social issues. Like the last time I was here, I was trying to tell you, there are also social issues. Because if this transgender end up becoming superstars and become very, very, very wealthy, will it not begin to affect our children? Okay. Where a child will just wake up tomorrow morning and say, okay, I was born female, or I was born male, but if I can choose to become a female, it's an easier route for me to
Mr.
start
Joachim, because of our time, is Africa ready for this? Because everything comes from Europe and comes down to Africa. We know obviously that transgender persons in this country that have not been able to come out. The population is growing, the help of the social medias and all that. What do you think could be the stake of Africa if there's a category created? Because other countries, Africa will not have a choice. If World Athletics create a category for transgender, then you will now be seeing people competing for transgender. I think that's the only way Africa will come out. What's your opinion? Is Africa ready for this?
Wait, culture is dynamic. Culture is dynamic. The long and short of culture, something that drives culture is what? Economic value. What is going to be the economic value to Africa if we embrace? Look, there's a difference between the
BQT.
No, so the T, let's remove it from there.
Okay.
The classical, I don't want to mention it here.
Okay.
You understand? The lesbians, the gay, and all of the LGBT. No, there's a difference between that and the transgender. For the transgender, part of it is biological. Those who were born
the way they are.
That's one group of them. There's also the other one I call ethical. Those who chose of their own free will. They were male. And they woke up one morning and decided that, I just feel like being a woman. I don't want to be a man again. The stress of being a man is too much. So I want to be a woman, especially when you are now in sports. It gives you, maybe they think the female side is not as competitive because the male side is so they go and start using testosterone suppression drugs and they now say that they are not transgender so that they can go and compete in the female category. That's a different question. That question is ethical. We have to look at it from the religious perspective. But at the end of the day, we also have to look at it from the pocket, from the marketing side of it. So if at the end of the day, my take is Africa, we derive certain huge economic value to be competitive even in that category. I think whether we like it or not, we'll begin to consider it. Let me make a point here before we continue. Remember, when I was young, if you're a sportsman, there's something your parents will do. You take the whip. You will take the whip for sure. Because your parents, the average African parent, in those days, we always tell you that if you take to sports, you're a classical example of an NFA, a child that has no future ambition. But today, what do we have? Parents, I know a parent, when I was living in Ogba, my neighbor brought his children back from America to go and attend a football academy. While they schooled in Nigeria, the advantage of, while they were schooling in Nigeria, they can go to Laluko's football academy. And with that, they are hoping that they can get scholarships, they can become superstars. So the days have passed when sportsmen are classified as just anything. Now sportsmen are they are expected. It comes to be a sportsman. It comes with so much glory and let me give you another example. Yesterday was
let's put this.
Yesterday was this person's birthday. President. Anthony Joshua wished him happy birthday. And all of a sudden, just because Anthony Joshua wished him happy birthday, It started trending because Anthony Joshua is a superstar.
Okay.
That is the same thing that will happen with the transgender sports.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Joachim Idada, thank you very much for being part of this show.
Yes, my pleasure as usual. It's nice coming to
your
talk.
Objectivity is noted, and I'm sure a lot of people will have comments to make about the fact that transgender in the future, based on ethical, might have no other place than to stay here in Africa. Thank you very much for joining the show.